All right, it's 6:03. We will start the June meeting of the Kennedale Economic Development Corporation. Roll call. We're going to say everybody is present for right now. Go ahead.
President Erie,
Here.
Vice President Terry. Here. Place 1 Eubanks.
Here.
Place 3 Michaels.
Here.
Place 4 Navarez.
Here.
Place 5 Reeves. It's absent. Place 7 Glover.
Present.
Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Do we have anybody signed up to talk, public comments?
I did have 3 that turned in to speak. However, they are part of the Thrive Coffee application process, so they're going to speak at that time when that matter comes up.
Okay. Item 3, regular session reports and announcements. Financial reports for the Economic Development Corporation.
Good evening. Financial reports, they're almost identical to last month. We just had a normal operating month. Our sales tax is still trending above our budget. So our revenues received year to date, they're 60.6% of the budget. The prior year sales tax through May were 54.4% of total receipts. So again, we're trending ahead of budget. Our rental fees for the shopping center year to date are at 70.1% of budget, and we are 67% through the year, so that's still on trend. Our operation expenditures are at 73.3% of budget. As I've explained every month since January, that's due to land purchasing. Town center shopping expenditures are considerably low. That's still due to the pending building repairs. And our fund balance year to date, we're at 556 days of total budgeted expenditures. Our anticipated balance at year end is 478 days. So we are well ahead of trend for this year. With that, I'll open it up for any questions.
Any questions, Marcel? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item B, discussion or any request for clarifications on items listed on the agenda. Okay, item C, consent agenda. Approval of the minutes for May 28, 2024.
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Item D, items for individual consideration, discussion, and/or action. Item 1, discuss and take action on the park donation for the Kennedale Community Theater in the park.
Yes, I had the community theater in the park had sent a letter, which should be in your packet as well, requesting some sponsorship for their next theater in the park, which generally is in October. And obviously attached, there's 3 levels of sponsorship: spotlight, patron, and friend. I wanted to bring it to the EDC board for any recommendations or any sponsorships that you would request that we move forward with for your consideration. They'll open for discussion.
So just if we're interested in donating or buying a corporate sponsorship and the amount.
Well, I know a little bit about the situation that the theater group is in. They really haven't recovered from COVID, and there was one year where they had to pre-purchase everything, and then they ended up not doing the event. And since then, they've been kind of catching up. That's why they recently did the school training, theater training for children. They've done that twice now. I think that's part of the things that they've been fundraising. They've also been asking for business sponsorship since last fall to, again, to try to make up for this. And of course, things are getting more expensive on top of that. I could tell you that every time they do this, which is once a quarter usually, it's packed. They do it for 2 days. There's usually around 80 people per night, so it's 3 days, yes. They do a matinee on Sunday. There's usually around 80 to 120 people. They usually bring in just under 500 on average. And most of those people are local, so it's a pretty big event around here competitively. So I know they need the help. If the board's considering that, I just wanted to kind of give a little history of where they're at with their theater group.
And this is a one-year sponsorship, is that correct?
And have we contributed before or sponsored before?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not monetarily, but because they're a 501, they don't have to pay for the park when they rent it.
What is the total amount they're requesting for a donation? Or is it just, we can choose our own amount that we
Well, it
want?
looks like friend, patron, or spotlight. Basically, pick one, and if something changes, we can address that next year, or somebody can.
How do they raise money outside of the sponsorships? It looks like in the letter itself, it said that they needed 5,000 for the season for sound. How are they gonna afford that or raise money elsewhere?
So they do ask for annual sponsorships, especially recently in the last 4 years or so. They do a bucket when they actually do the event, and they pass around the bucket, and they do make quite a bit doing that. It's just never enough anymore because the cost of sound, and I do an event every year. Our sound has gone up almost double in the last 8 years. So it's just the cost of everything's getting a little bit more expensive. And part of it, again, they were behind because of what happened, and they've been trying to catch up.
To
They
your-
do a lot of internal funding as well, just
Yeah.
their group itself.
And the sound guy's been the same sound guy for years, and he's a local, so he does keep it inexpensive. He does the same sound for my events, and does the Christmas event every year as well. He keeps it low. If it's $4,000, he says 4,000, it's 8,000 everywhere else. So, and he only does that because he's a local boy, he's got the equipment, and he's been invested in that community theater for 8 years or so.
I'm all for the $1,000 sponsorship if we don't want to even make it larger than that. I love supporting the community. I think that's what the EDC is here for. So if they need $2,200 for the Annie Junior, I think it should be something we should consider. Maybe that's more than everyone else is comfortable with, but it's supporting the community. If kids and families are involved, 500 people, if you break down $5,000, by 500 people, that's a minuscule amount. And that's the total sound budget for the entire season. And I am comfortable anywhere 1,000 to the 5,000, depending on where everyone else falls.
Okay.
I have a question about the summer camps. Is some of this donation going to help with the summer camps that they're providing?
The summer camps, under my knowledge, is some of the ways they fundraise. So they charge, let's say, $50, whatever it was, 25. And then, so that's part of their fundraising is they put on these camps. And she's done 2 in the last year to help fundraise for that.
I guess what would be the drawback of sponsoring the $1,000? And maybe, John, maybe this might be a question for you. From the financial standpoint, would it put the EDC in jeopardy by sponsoring $1,000 or maybe even the total $5,000?
Financially speaking, no, not at all.
Okay.
The danger is then people, once we get the word gets out, we might come hit you up for money as well. So that's the danger. If you open the door, you might have several people walk in.
Fair point.
Yeah, fair point.
That's gonna be my next question was.
Now, we won't ask because I'm on the board now, but if I wasn't on the board, we probably would have asked if y'all approved this. So again, you're just opening the door.
But there are, I know, there are other upcoming events in the park. I don't believe they've asked for any funds.
No, but there's several events around town. Sarah Cotton does one. Tamika over here does one as well. So, and we're all always looking for more money to make it bigger and better than the previous year.
And I do recommend on what they're requesting. At this point, the spotlight is $1,000, and obviously it breaks it down to what the EDC will be coming from that, which I do agree to help fund it. The intent for the EDC is to bring more people to our town center. So they're having an event that's bringing people into our shops to shop local, to eat local, and obviously just be a part of our community as a whole, which is one thing that we strive to do, is to bring more people to our town center. And I think our local businesses would benefit from that as well.
The overwhelming people who are involved are local Kennedales or former students of her. Maybe they used to live here, and they just moved to Burleson or whatever as they got older. So a lot, and there's only like 1 or 2 or 3 of their superstars that keep coming back that are not locals. But everybody that attends, everybody who's in it, the Annie play was the recent one. All those children were local, within the ISD districts. So it's put on by locals, attended by locals. Probably one of the most popular events in the year for sure.
Go ahead, John.
One recommendation I would like to make, and you see later on in the evening, we do have a discussion over our budget, that if, like the point has been mentioned, if we are going to, say, cross the threshold and start looking at sponsorships, that we do budget that for the next fiscal year, and that may be a way to control the number of applicants, if we want to call it that, similar to how we do the grants, but actually have a budgeted line for sponsorships so we know what our cap is.
Great point.
So we're comfortable with the spotlight for this year? And then we'll put it in our budget for next year?
Make a motion for approval.
A motion for approval for the EDC to accept the Spotlight sponsorship.
I will second it.
All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Next item for individual consideration or discussion. Take action on the Economic Development Funding Grant application as submitted by Mr. Wally's Pickles.
Yeah, man. Yes, ma'am, if you come up there. Obviously, if you'll just introduce yourself.
Okay.
And we'll love to hear your story.
Okay. Hi. I feel silly with this because y'all are so close. My name is Angie Hernandez, and my husband and I have a small business here in town, and I've seen a few of you, not all of you, but some of you are regular, so hey. My husband and I used to make pickles out of our home, and I tell this story to everybody because it's true. Our house was built in 1953. I live in Arlington by Arlington High School. My house was built in 1953. It's a pier and beam house. The weight of the pickles in my house was so heavy that it was beveling the floor in my house, like it was just crushing my home. And my husband, during COVID, did like a lot of people, and he started making something, and what he decided to make was a knife. So we were headed to the Farrier one day, because we shop here in Kennedale, and we were going to the Farriers to get some supplies to make knives. And we drove by the shopping center and saw the sign that said, am I too close? Oh. We saw the sign that said for rent, and so we called, and I don't know, 9 months later, several handshakes later, we moved into the spot. When we originally signed the lease in January, they told us that the space would be ready in March. And then that's, of course, post-COVID, and there was all kinds of issues with different codes and compliances and supplies and whatever. So we ended up moving in September. And then we opened in October. And what I have discovered is that Kennedale doesn't really shop in Kennedale. They shop in Mansfield, and they shop in Arlington, and they go to different communities. The reason I know that is because every weekend I go out and I do farmers markets and craft shows, and I find them. They're like, oh, we've drove by that. We wondered what that was. They taste it at a farmer's market, and then they come back and buy from me in the store. They don't really ever just come in the store, with the exception of Mark there, who was my very first customer. Anyway, my husband and I have been open for almost 2 years. And when I originally moved in, it was myself, my husband, and 2 sons that were working with me. So when I tell you that it's family owned and operated, it truly is. And one of my sons joined the Marines. So, he was selfish, wanted to have his own life, do his own thing, whatever, I support that. So he doesn't help me anymore. And then my other son just recently got married and had a baby. I'm a grandma, just new, like 9 days. Anyway, he lives in Frisco, so he doesn't work with me anymore. So I had to hire some people. And I made an effort to hire some people here in Kentdale, and it was a little bit of a struggle for me because my employee pool was not very good for me in the beginning. And so I tried some people, and then I adjusted my application, and then I tried some more people. And currently I have 2 part-time employees. They both work about 25, 30 hours a week. And then I have 1 seasonal person who's just with me for the summer until he goes off to school. My goal is to hire a couple of full-time people. I would like to have people in there working full-time. But it's difficult because I am constantly having to go out and do shows every weekend. I would really like the store to be open on a Saturday, but I tried being open on a Saturday, and when I was open on a Saturday, I could be there all day. Messed up your machine. Anyway, I was open all day on a Saturday, and I was making maybe $100, $150 in sales. And that's just not working for me. So I had to keep going out to markets. But one of the things that I have discovered that people really want to do is they want to learn how to can. And I put some feelers out and kind of started talking to some of my clients, and they want to do canning classes. So I want to offer that in my store. And I did a lot of research, and it turns out that if your store is not just retail, but it's experience-based, you not only get good customers, but you get repeat customers, and you get higher revenue because they pay for the class, and they come in and they shop, and then they come back and shop because they realize how much work it really is, so they don't want to do it. I do bring a lot of business to Kennedale because most of my customers do come from Mansfield, Burleson, Arlington, Granbury, Fort Worth. Not necessarily Kennedale, but they are coming, and they're coming because I go out and do these markets and bring them in. And I know that if I could do the classes, it would just really grow. And so what my goal was, and I don't know if I really expressed it well in there, but my goal was that I want to be able to update some of the equipment so I can do those classes in there. I forgot to tell you, I was a teacher for 22 years. So it's not like this is a fly by the seat of my pants kind of thing. I do have professional experience. I have a degree, and I taught math. Not canning, but math. But I was a project-based learning teacher, so hands-on is really big for me. Anyway, so I would really like to have some help getting some of that equipment and then being able to offer those classes in the store. And when I talked to Mr. Hall, he was explaining to me that one of the things that you all are trying to do is kind of make the town center a little bit more, I don't know, friendly to have people come in. And I think I can help there because they're already coming to me from these different communities to shop anyway. If I can get them in on a class and I could do it on a Saturday morning when you're already having a farmer's market or having some kind of car show or something like that, it's just more people right there to see what's happening. I think with your help, I could do that, and I could bring some real revenue to the community. Because my goal is not just the class, but it's also to sell the aprons and the t-shirts and the hats and the canning supplies. So when they walk out, they didn't just pay to be in the class, but they also walk out with stuff, which of course increases revenue and brings in tax money for you. So that's my goal. I would really appreciate your help with that. And then moving down the line to implement that, I want to be able to hire a couple more people. So the 2 people I have right now, one of them, and they're all locals that work for me. But one is like 60, which I know that she'll be excited to hear that y'all are thinking about that money thing because she's a theater person. She's always doing that stuff. And so she's the person that I would really like to hire full time. And she needs that job full time. I just can't afford to pay her that. But if I could have a little bit more revenue coming in, because it is kind of kicking my butt a little bit. My hours, when people see my store, they don't think I really am there very much, but I am. I come in on Monday morning and I get there as early as 6:30 or 7 because I pick up cucumbers. I pick up about 600 pounds of cucumbers on Monday, and I come in and all I do is just cut and chop and prep. And I do that till about 2:30. That's my day off. Then I go home, kind of rest or whatever, but not really because I stop and pick up my vinegar and all my supplies that I need for everything. And then I come in on Tuesday and I work and I do that and I can all of it. As a matter of fact, Miss Sargent came into the store the other day and she was sitting in a chair and she looked back there and she said, "What is all that steam back there?" I tell people all the time, I have a manufacturing license and I have a commercial kitchen. I'm approved by the state, by the health department. I make everything right there. So I would love for people to come in and maybe even take tours and visit and see. Marcus come in, he's seen it. I mean, he brings me back jars. I mean, we do it all right there. And if I could just have another person to help me full time, maybe 2 over the next year and a half. And one of the things I submitted in there is I submitted my lease, because I want you to see that I'm not going anywhere. I mean, I signed a 5-year lease and I'm only 2 years in. So I still got 3 more years to be here in Kennedale. And so it'd be really nice to get a little help and make it happen. So anyway, I talked a lot. I don't know if you have any questions for me, but if you do, please don't hesitate to ask. One last thing, I do a lot of markets. When Benjamin was with us, we were doing 3 to 4 markets a weekend. And if you think about that, I mean, that's 47 weeks a year. We're doing like 200 shows, events, markets, farmers markets a year. And so to be able to make that transition where I could get people to come here and me not have to go out, because it turns out I'm not getting younger, I'm getting older. The jars are getting heavier. So it would just be really nice to also make that transition as well. There you go. I'm gonna stop talking now.
Thank you. Do we have any questions so far?
Can you give us a better picture of what you're wanting to do with the building itself? Do you have any idea as far as a facade or the interior
Yes.
design?
So when you come into the store right now, so when I moved into the store, I read a term and it really does apply to me. It's called a bootstrap business. I'm a bootstrap business. Everything I make, I turn around and put right back into my business. I'm really doing it by the bootstrap, you know what I mean? So when we moved into the store, I really got onto Facebook Marketplace and I just kind of drove around and bought shelves and gondolas and things that I thought that I could use to display the pickles. But it wasn't my original vision. It's just what I could afford. So my vision is really to make it like, I don't want to say Cracker Barrel, but kind of like Cracker Barrel. I mean, that's the idea. I wanted to have that real country store, homey look. So I've already started kind of making that transition. I took one of my gondolas out and I put in I just went on Facebook and I found like an old China hutch that someone has. And I'm really looking for old. I don't want anything new or shiny, with the exception, there was one thing I put in there, because Amazon had these things where they have these like little pipes and shelves, and I thought that would be nice because I can attach them to the walls and hang clothes and stuff on it. But I have a couple of like little pie cabinets and china hutches and, just kind of that wooden country look. And so then I can start to display my stuff in there and make it look more country store. One of the pluses for us is that my husband is YouTube educated. So he truly can do just about anything except fix my bathroom, which I've been asking for 2 years, but whatever. So one of the things that he's very good at, and I mean this, he's very good at it. He went down and he learned how to make screen print shirts. He learned how to make, he made this one. So we make our own shirts, we make our own aprons. The only thing that's in our store that we didn't make is our hats, because I'm not going to spend that much money on an embroidery machine. I don't care if he can do it or not. So we don't do our own hats, but everything else in the store we did. So he makes the shirts, he makes the aprons, he makes the hats, he makes the bags, and he's done it with screen print. And I can't remember what this is called, but it's something else. So he knows how to do lots of different things. And so what I want to do is I want to offer those kinds of things in the store. So I wanted to kind of have that. I wanted to have that experience feel when they come in. I don't want them to come in and feel like the security guard is watching them. And right now it kind of feels like that because my store doesn't have a very good flow because I haven't quite put it together. I'm part Mexican and part German, so I just have a lot of issues with my hands, So I wanted to have that real hometown country feel where they walk in and they kind of like, ooh, ooh, ooh. I just want it to be like that, where everything kind of catches their eye. I don't know if any of you have ever been, but in Fort Worth, they have that place called the Pickle Emporium. Have you been? And they have just tons of stuff, and it's all pickle-based, which I'm not bad-mouthing Best Made, okay? Not. But, here we have an opportunity to say, made in Kennedale, hometown pickles or whatever. And we even make a pickle we called the Kennedill, which is a sweet and sour, or no, it's a dill sour, dill sweet. I don't know what you call it, like a sweet dill. I knew I could get it. It's a sweet dill, and I call it the Kennedill. So I have a pickle named after you. I'm trying to make it an experience. I'm trying to make it a place where people come in and say, And I don't know if you noticed, but we painted our logo on the wall. Our logo is even family generated. My son doodled that. And then my husband and him painted it on the wall. By the end of the year, my husband's going to paint the windows, and we're going to have like a whole thing going on. I'm just asking for a little help to do that. So there you go. Did I do that? Okay.
Thank you. I have actually a question for the director or the president. So with regards to the grants, is there guidelines around using them to pay rent back to the town center?
That I'm aware of, there's no regulations one way or another. The board is able to make that decision on what direction they want to go, what's going to have an economic growth for the city itself. So it's open.
Okay. Just wanted to get clarification on that. Thank you.
I don't think there's any precedents ever on the subject one way or the other, on any other grants that I can think of.
I guess the only thing that I truly would recommend is make sure as we go through it that there is a growth pattern for what you're requesting. Looking through your list, and this is just in a thought, and we had this same discussion. What she's presenting, probably if I had a concern, it may be for the produce itself. It's kind of iffy for me in that manner, but most of it, I believe, is an improvement to the building itself. It's creating a environment that's open, approachable, It's creating a desire to come into our town center, which I think is a very pro-growth for the city and for our sales tax revenue as a whole. But the only thing that I see that's outside of that would most likely be the produce itself. But most of it's all equipment or it's a facade of some sort for the building. And I think it'll be a great benefit for the city and our town center.
And I, again, have no issue at all with equipment.
That's correct. No issue.
When I did notice the produce on there too. And you bringing up the lease amounts. Any more, do we have any more questions for right now?
Just procedural, if you wanted to recommend this, how are we presenting this as a recommendation? Just approval overall, or is there, I don't see a specific amount in my.
There is a total requested at the very end.
I'm the new guy. Yes, there you go. That was it.
Do you have any anticipation what you believe your growth will be? For instance, if you provide a canning training, how often do you plan on hosting this training or this class? Do you anticipate what your growth is for the first year, maybe the second year, third year?
Yeah, I actually have thought about that. So, so I didn't put this in there either, but I wasn't sure what it would look like. And I didn't just teach, but I taught math. So I'm real methodical. I have a plan before I start. And what I did is I went and I actually taught the classes in people's homes. I used them as guinea pigs. I was like, oh, well, hey, I'd be happy to come to your house and we could do it and da-da-da-da-da. So I went to 3 different houses, and then I have a friend who buys produce, or not produce, but pickles from me up in, not Nakona, but it's up there by that place, up there by Nakona. And she has a place, and I used her kitchen and just did a class in there. So we sent out feelers, and what we did is I took the money from the classes, and then she took the money from like all the merchandise and stuff we sold. That way there we both made a little something. The class is well received. I don't have any trouble with it. And I don't have trouble. I've already talked to people in McKinney. I go all the way up to McKinney, and they're willing to come here to take a class because they want to know how to do it. And I've got a lot of people who are in that over 40, over 50 category. They're getting ready to retire. They're looking for things to do for fun, that kind of stuff. So when I first started, I was trying to think in my mind how much to charge for a class. And I just grew up poor, so I think you have to do everything cheap, in my brain. But when I started I talked to the people that were getting the class, and they were like, no, $75 is way fine. $75 is fair. Ooh, you could even do $125 for couples and do like a date night and da-da-da-da-da. So in my brain, I thought, oh, that's very helpful, right? So what I'd like to do, and what I have plans to do, is I'd like to do 2 classes a month, starting in September. I would like to do September, October, November, and what I anticipate is September, October, November. If I'm lucky, I might get 4 to 6 people. That's my projection. And then I'm not going to do any in December, because I think that if I offer it as a gift package, people will buy it, and then I can start seeing that in January, February, and March. Which, if anybody here's retail, January is the worst month for us, right? So I would like to see people coming in and using that gift package that they got in December. So I do see growth happening. When I put in there for the tables, I put in more tables than I need, but it's because I feel like if I start out with 4 to 6 people, my max is going to be 10 to 12. I want to do 10 to 12 people per class because I do have the space for it and I have the tilting skillet to cook that much. And I want to make it a whole kind of party thing. So I feel like if I can get that started, it'll start out a little slow just because it'll take that little bump to make sure people really know they can do it. And what I'd like to do, since I'm offering 2 classes, I'd like to do one during the week, like on a Thursday or Friday night, and really kind of target couples, like as a date night experience, and then one on a Saturday morning or maybe late morning for all the people that are like the rest of us that work all week and what? I'm not going to go and camp for 2 hours on a Friday night. I love you, honey, but we can do it Saturday or whatever. So that's my plan. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to offer 2 specific classes. So one class a month would be a jelly and a salsa of some sort. And then one class would be pickles, like dill pickles and a vegetable. That way they can have 2 different things that they can walk out of the class with. And then if they want to learn how to do the pickles and then say, oh, I didn't know you had jams or jelly classes, then they can come back and do another class. And it'll rotate like my plan is every 60 days, so that way they can, oh, I didn't know you were offering that. Let me get that in November. So hopefully I can get repeaters and still kind of bring in the new people as well.
Thank you.
Did I answer that? Thanks.
So, Mr. Hall, you were saying that you were good with, excuse me, good with this itemization except for the produce, correct?
That would be the only question mark I may have. Obviously, it's up to the board to be able to make that decision. But I think that the rest of it is value is over time. It's not just a one-time purchase. Everything else can be more than that.
So with that in mind, the new number comes down to $20,566.42. I did that twice. Just to throw that out there for everybody. That's the difference of the produce.
I do have one question while they're doing their math. Would this be something that you can purchase and then come back for reimbursement? Would you be capable of doing that?
Some of it I could, but I wouldn't be able to make that. Okay, so here's where I'm going to be honest again, okay? My bootstrap business has had 2 really big hits this year. One, my son left. Okay, he got married, had a baby. I'm gonna let it go, right? But my son left, and so that really kind of did a big hit to my business because we were doing 3 or 4 shows every weekend, and with Benjamin not there, now I'm down to 2 because, it's one less person. And then my husband got injured this year, and he has been on crutches for 6 weeks. So he goes to work, but he's not going as often to the shows like he was. So when I say to you that we are working, I'm working a lot. As a matter of fact, yesterday I came to work and I bought all my produce and put everything there, and I didn't cut a thing yesterday because I said, I'm just too tired. So I went home and I took a day off, and I felt really guilty about it because I don't do that. My last day off was April 27th, and I know that specifically because I did a baby shower and I co-hosted on my day off, right? So I don't have a little money stored like I normally would by this time because the rain this season has been horrendous. I usually do the NS Bluebonnet Festival, and I don't want to say my number, but I make quite a large amount of money for that festival. And I didn't make that this year because it rained on Friday and Saturday, the 2 biggest days. And, well, truth be told, the first 2 quarters this year, I was down 20% from sales, but it's because of the weather. I can battle heat. I can make that work, but I just can't battle rain. I mean, if it's raining, they just don't come out. So I don't have a little store nut like I normally do by this time of year. So for me to be able to purchase it and then submit a receipt, I really can't do it. Because the truth is, if I could do that, I probably wouldn't even be here asking you for the money, because that's just not who I am or the way I normally do stuff. All of it so far, I've pretty much done it by myself. I haven't gotten a loan. I haven't asked anybody for money. I've done everything by myself so far. This is the first time I've ever asking for money, so.
Well, currently, there is one thing we have restrictions on. Generally, it's a reimbursement. It's not upfront money. It could be something we can look into to see. For instance, you can provide us a quote and we can make a purchase or something through that direction.
Sure.
But generally speaking, it is upfront reimbursement of the funding. It could be, if it's up to the board, obviously, maybe do an equipment purchase and then get reimbursed in that manner. I don't know if that may be in smaller revenue funds as they come in, maybe to do that. But ultimately, it's reimbursement, how the grant is currently set up.
Okay.
Could some of it be done in steps?
Yeah, I don't mind in steps. I mean, that's fine with me. I mean, I don't mind that at all.
Could you prioritize what you need for, I know it's a nice list. Could you prioritize what you need in equipment?
So the classes themselves, I don't have any intention of starting the classes until the 1st of September. Like I don't have any plans to do that until the 1st of September. So one of the main reasons I don't have that plan is because I'm 52 and I'm cooking in my own skin these days. I'm just so hot. And so this year we decided that we were going to do some events outside of Texas and kind of increase our customer base, which has really been very successful for us because our online sales have gone up. But it does require me to travel. So in January, I went to Denver, Colorado, and I did an event for 20 days. I did a rodeo up there. And so, but it meant that I could work in January, which I don't normally do because there's not a lot of people purchasing things in January. And in July, in 2 weeks, I am packing up and I'm on my way to Wyoming. So there's a rodeo called the Frontier Days, right? And it's been going on for over 130 something years. And they don't have anybody else in there from Texas. I'm the only person. I was really flattered when she told me that. But I sent them samples and they loved our stuff. So we got into that show. And so I'm going to be there until the end of July. And then, so I never take a vacation. August 4th, I'm getting on a ship and going to Alaska. And so then when I finish with that, then I'm coming back. So I'll be back here on the 15th of August. And then my goal was to get packages open and start putting out stuff and get ready for the class. So with that being said, the most important thing to me right now is jars, and then the equipment, because I've bought stainless steel pots and I keep going through them because I make so much brine and it's salt, so it just kind of eats them a little bit. And the refrigerator, those are my top 3 things right now. And then the equipment is next, or the tables and the chairs are next, because that would be September.
Well, I make a motion to approve the grant up to the amount of $20,566.42.
Does he need to add in the reimbursement into that motion?
Not at this point.
Okay. Do we have a second? Go, please.
What is your basis for the 20 rather than 25?
So what I did was I subtracted the produce amount listed in the itemization, and it came down to that amount. And I'm happy to amend the motion if you want to put stipulations.
Jeff, what was your balance again? 20,
20,500. I'm not gonna have to do it again. I just actually hit clear.
why not just make it 21?
Okay, I like even numbers, trust me. I charge my clients even numbers all the time.
Up to 21,000.
Okay,
One.
I'll amend my motion to the amount of up to 21,000.
I will second the motion for 21,000.
All in favor? Unanimous. All right, thank you.
So you're actually going to. You're actually going to Cheyenne? I am. Love that place.
Thank you for coming out. Yeah, thank you.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Item 3, discuss and take action on economic development funding grant application as submitted by Valentino's New York Pizza. Do we have any representation?
So just looking at the receipts that he's attached to this, these are startup costs. I see a hacksaw from Lowe's on here. I see Homer's buckets. I mean, these are all just what you have to spend to start your business up.
That is correct. These are receipts that he has already, well, like you indicated, some of this startup cost. You know, there are some items that are within the receipts that, you know, obviously we would not be able to take part in. But and also I have not been able to speak with him personally, one way or the other, to justify or get more direction on what he's requesting. But he did submit the application with the receipts.
It would be my preference to have him come speak to us
Okay.
before we move forward. I think that'd just be prudent.
Yep.
Yep.
We'll just table item 3 to a further meeting.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion that we table Valentino's Pizza till next meeting.
All in favor? Abstaining? One abstaining. Item 4, discuss and take action on economic development funding grant application submitted by Thrive Coffee.
Hello, good evening. Hi, my name is Vitar Williams. I am a co-owner for Thrive Coffee, which is located right here in the Kennedale Town Center, also accompanied by Olivia Ingram and Patrick Ingram, who are Kennedale residents and also co-owners with an equal share. Thank you so much for considering us today. And yeah, happy to follow through on any questions, any concerns, or if you'd like for me to walk through sort of what you're seeing here.
I kind of know what happened to you guys. So when you guys took over the building, there was a lot of damage, correct?
That is correct.
And that's not damage from you guys, that's from the previous tenant that left in a hurry overnight, correct?
Certainly.
Okay. And so what you're really asking for is just a little reimbursement to get it up to par.
That is part of it for sure. To your point, we did enter into a space that was, even not code compliant. And so part of that was taken on by us, part of it was taken on by our landlord. And so at this point, we have already put in some capital cost and are asking reimbursement for that. So that's why we are leveraging and looking for and hopeful for the grant. Also, we do have continuous cost as well that we are anticipating, so that do fall in the capital bucket, but also things like marketing and branding and things like that, that would all draw individuals to Kennedale Town Center. We are hoping that, and we know that Thrive will be the living room for Kennedale. So we are hoping that it's Kennedale's living room. It's a bright, airy space. We have already crosswalked the market. What's really amazing is that there's no coffee in Kennedale. And so there's a massive opportunity for us to have a competitive advantage and potentially a monopoly on the coffee market right here in Kennedale, and also to look at our neighbors right here in Forest Hill where there's only Starbucks, and so no local coffee there as well. And also not to be lost upon us is that over the last 3 to 4 years, in the top 5 are some major growing populous areas such as Mansfield, such as Fort Worth, and they are all sharing borders with us. And so they are also looking for opportunities to come and be. And so we want to just have that opportunity to connect, grow, and thrive. And we want people to come into Kennedale. We want people to stay in Kennedale. And so that entire motif is, it transcends not only what we're doing, but the operations of of the business. And so even if you walk in today, as far as how we've started to renovate, we are creating a space where people can and want to stay. And so if they want to work from home, they can come right there. So there's strong workability. The aesthetic will be bright, airy, and lots of greenery. And so when we're looking at our markets and also the trends of coffee shops in the greater sort of stratosphere, that also aligns with that. So it does make us competitive in general in the DFW, but also we have a heart for scalability, and we want to make sure that we're doing things right and have an opportunity to scale this beyond Kennedale, but they'll know that Kennedale is home for Thrive Coffee.
And just to clarify the board, you guys have pretty much been out there almost every day, if not weekly, since February, working on the dam.
This is true. I don't know if y'all have seen us, but
I've
yes,
seen-
day and night.
I'm the nosy guy around town. I've seen you.
I love it.
Thank you for clarifying that to the board.
Certainly.
Just want to clarify, so the landlord has not provided any funding for renovations? Is that within your contract, or?
So initially, the contract was, from what we understood, a standard contract for most of the tenants in the town center. However, we did have some challenges, and I think a lot of this is based on the previous tenant and things that occurred prior to us entering the space. We did negotiate a few things, but things that we thought were quite in line with code. So things like flooring, there were significant tripping hazards to the initial flooring, some water damage, things of that nature. We actually had one of our owners trip and fall. And so those were things that we just knew would not, couldn't be part of the greater sort of negotiation if we weren't going to consider it if that was the case. So he was able to budge on that for us. But other things, I think sort of our passion and aligned with our mission, vision, values, and our hope for the future of Kennedale kind of was willing to set aside. And so the one thing we definitely felt that needed to be negotiated rightfully was the flooring. And so we do have new flooring in. So thanks to our partners in the Kennedale Town Center. But we are still incurring some sort of fees that kind of are associated with that code compliance.
So you have not, you haven't had an expenditure that was been offered by huge construction or anything like that. So in a sense, everything that you've put
It's all our
into-
seed money from personal investments.
Okay. And it was not asked of by the.
No
land-
request
Okay.
that were not negotiated within the construct of the contract.
Okay.
Correct.
And when do you plan to open?
We're hoping, we've been saying summer, but once again, a lot of that is, and I do anticipate that it's summer. Right now, I'm extremely excited to announce that over the last 2 weeks, we've had electrical, flooring, we've also had paint go in. So even if you just drop by there and kind of peek in, it looks like it's coming along extremely well. And so right now, we are looking forward to equipment. So there's some outlying equipment such as grinders. We need to get our espresso machine inside. So some of those pieces, and then some of our sort of those operational pieces like coffee cups, plates, things of that nature. But other than that, we are really hoping for at least, like at the earliest, we want to do a soft opening in August, or even sooner than that. But we definitely want to be up and going and before the school year starts. We want to capitalize on our educators and make sure that they understand that there's a place for them right across the way. So we do plan to discount our educators. We do plan to discount our veterans. And yeah, so we want to do something special for them as well.
Where are you guys located? Where's the building?
Yeah, 201. It's formerly was the Daiquiri Domain. It's still in the town center, kind of at that edge. It shares walls with Dickey's and then also with Chicken Express.
Oh, okay, okay.
So I guess I see the list of capital costs and they're about $40,000 and it's a very itemized list. And so you're requesting $25,000 for the grant.
We are. That's kind of what was detailed.
But to be clear, it does say on the application that you're going to be spending closer to 150,000. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay.
From our understanding.
Okay.
So there's more than an outstanding amount remaining, but from our understanding, the application for the grant was for 25. And so we've got ways to go, but we're hopeful and are grateful for the support from the Kennedale community to date.
I personally don't have any questions or concerns.
I do have a question, and I'm sorry, I might be a little slow, but I just.
Oh, no.
So you're currently $39,786.32 out of pocket for improvements or from your list for the building itself.
Yes, that's our itemized list
Okay.
currently. Mhm.
And just going back to the previous question around if He's Commercial was discussing with y'all, has Craig Hees or his company indicated whether they would offer some concessions on your rent that would be taken off of this request?
From what we understand, it was initially the sort of ramp up. So this whole progressive, if you're entering, we are going to give you time to sort of repair the space. And so I think if we want to consider that an adjusted rate, then in theory, yes, he did. They did. And then, but ultimately, nothing beyond that. Everything else had to be negotiated pretty straightforwardly. And so, and the asks were there. But once again, I think it all came down to us. The flooring was the most significant that we thought would really call into question other things. So, but we have received help from some of partnership, I would say, from sort of the handyman that's on deck with them. So there are some negotiations and some opportunities for partnership. It would still end up paying the Hughes team, but beyond the flooring, I don't think. Keep me honest, please, team. Electrical that was exposed electrical outlets that once again were not code compliant, that we did ask for support on, and so they were willing to close those off. But we have had to go back in and then ask purchase electrical on the side, and then say, hey, we need help with these and correcting those. And so there have been some challenges. I think we're at a good place, a decent place with our partnership. and a shared understanding of expectations and hopes.
You also have on here for insurance policy. What is that in reference to?
They require, yeah, so that's more of like, this is an itemized receipt with respect to what's required of not only Hughes, I guess it's Hughes really. So that's probably what you're seeing at this point with the,
So is that
not
not
an
part of
exhaustive
your
list.
rent?
I think it's even prior to that, prior to the, it's not part of rent, no.
So you have a triple net lease.
That
right?
doesn't include insurance.
So for
Silver
the,
lining is we're doubly covered, hopefully.
just one more question, I promise. For some of the, kind of the core pieces of equipment that you would need to run your business, like a grinder and an espresso machine, you've already purchased that?
Some of it. And so we still have outstanding items such as like a couple of grinders, some coffee machines, some of the actual like cups and some of the operational things, other major equipment pieces. Keep me honest.
You can
Come on up,
come to the microphone.
Patrick. Patrick is our operations guru.
Yeah, hi. So we do have an espresso machine currently. We do have a grinder currently, but we want to offer more variety. As some people like bolder espresso, some people like a classic. Like if you go to Starbucks, there's a blonde roast, there's a dark roast. So we want to be able to offer variety with one more grinder, and then as far as the food goes, we would like to add a panini press or convection oven in order to heat up our pastries and or tacos. And we also would like a prep fridge. That's like the most important things we need right now.
That would incur the most significant cost. To note, this particular space is not upfitted with a kitchen, so we have to do our due diligence with respect to what we're selecting. And so convection ovens would be, code compliant versus us saying, hey, we're gonna get a griddle and we're gonna like flip tacos and make those. So we are partnering with Montecito, which is a space out of, it's a bakery, a small bakery out of Las Colinas, small family-owned bakery, and they are going to deliver here on 2 times a week. But yeah, so it gives us an opportunity to diversify our offerings. Currently, I would say the pastry market is monopolized by La Casita Bakery, and so I think it's really awesome opportunity for us to really put another bakery on the map.
Will there be a plan to sell coffee in the future? You're asking for grinders and stuff, like whole bean coffee, and you grind it there, or you can just take it home and grind it? Or
Yes, sir, yeah.
That's a significant part of our revenue is to offer white label coffee. And so Patrick has actually been going out to his coffee roaster. So we have a couple different options right now. Primarily U.S. roast is going to be the option. It's out in East Texas. And so we are literally picking the flavors, the notes, everything like from our own palates and his own and expertise. And so that'll be the value of the soft opening, is to invite Kennedale in so that they can get a taste of our palate and give feedback. And so opening it up to the community to really weigh in on what they want.
Do you have so if this is already purchased, so you have already identified more equipment that you're needing, do you have that wish list as well with the price with that?
We do, yes, sir.
Is it in the packet, or did I just overlook it?
So we turned in things that, based on reimbursement, as that's kind of what we were talking about prior to like just getting aware of what the stipulations of the grant were. But we have dozens of other dollars. So happy to compile and collate that and share back with this entire group.
Unfortunately, and I apologize to the board, I was not able to see the information until yesterday, so it's been a little
Understandable.
difficult for me to really look at it, study it, and see exactly what it is. I truly have an interest to see what you're needing beyond this point. It's not that this is not important, it is, but I'd definitely like to see what we can do to maybe enhance it from this point forward for equipment, maybe supplies or things of that nature.
Yeah. We're happy to collate that for sure. Everything
Would that
from,
still be within the 25,000? I mean, it sounds like you have some, if you're looking for an oven, different things like that, that's pretty costly.
the outstanding costs are beyond 25,000. We were just kind of like going in line with what we wanted to submit for the grant, for the sake of the grant, but the outstanding costs are beyond 25,000. At this point, we are definitely closer to 50 and definitely like itemized 39 or 35 plus. So
No, it's not that this isn't, we can still go by that. I'm just curious more than anything, if there's something else that we can improve on for your soft opening or increase that timeline.
thank you. Happy to follow up with some addended information. So
Are your questions, Daryl, gonna hold up approval, or is it just for information?
For me, once again, I haven't really had the opportunity really to study the receipts to the 39,000 mark. Personally, it's hard for me to really give you a recommendation at this point, other than some of them that are very eye-opening in the sense that, I think we can identify, and I'm okay for that. But in a sense, some of the others, I think it's a little bit more difficult. There's a lot of improvements you've done to the building. Personally, I think it should have been the responsibility of the landlord. And, we haven't been able to talk this last couple of weeks for a while, but I know we had several discussions prior to. I kind of like to have a little bit more information as far as maybe what transpired with that. But, even though, obviously if you're 39,000 to 25,000 is a good start. So I don't necessarily have a problem with that, so please don't take it the wrong way. But I would like to know how we can move forward to get you opened in August. If that's getting the equipment you need or something like that, that could be an easy transaction besides me having to go back and study the receipts for say of what's there and what's not. And I use an example, there's like a Red Bull, some itemized in it, we'll have to go in and take some of that out. So it's going to take me a little bit of time to be able to do that. And honestly, I just hadn't had the time to do it.
So in addition to that, I think that would like to hear from Mr. Hughes's company on some of the elements and some of the items mentioned, and maybe we can offer some assistance there just to help. Well, we'll see what we can do on that.
thank you.
So I think at this point, we're making a motion to table this one until we have time to kind of revisit the item.
I think so. I think it'll be appropriate if you don't mind giving me a little bit more time to have a little bit more one-on-one and with construction, use construction.
Will this push back the August?
It certainly
schedule?
will. It certainly will.
So how much time are we
Which is
talking about? Or is it next meeting or before next meeting? Or?
Question then, real quick. Would it be beneficial, for instance, if you have receipts or have a quote for your grinders, for your oven, the equipment that you're needing, you indicated it could go up to 25,000 or beyond. Is that something you can produce today and that we can have a vote on? Would that help?
Yeah.
Or is it more beneficial that I go through this and itemize what you're requesting?
Either or works for us. I think we have more than enough to be able to share with the team today, so.
We have the cost here.
Okay.
I can share it with you.
Is this
So I
something
would
that
say
we can
equipment
print?
needs particularly, happy to walk you through like a sandwich prep fridge. Oh, yeah, we can print as well. Even at a low rate would be upward $1,100. Espresso grinder, 1,700, convection oven, 1,400. Glass rinser would be 12, I guess, like, that would probably be about 25, or maybe $250 here. But the coffee roaster, which would be, the partnership would range somewhere between $15,000 and $20,000. So it's kind of like getting that upfront, but we would phase that out. And so I think part of that would be just starting off with somewhere between the 5K to 10K upfront costs for the coffee roasting partnership. And then a lot of that is going to be informed by, sort of by the traffic, and then some back-end data analytics with respect to our SEO and some of the POS. So off top, those are the big equipment needs that we're looking at. Once again, marketing and branding is going to be critical for a space like this. We are tucked away, even though we are like off of Business 287. I don't know that people are actually, they haven't been looking significantly for coffee right there. And so I think that we're going to put in quite a bit of effort, and have already done so with respect to some of our marketing and branding strategically, which is actually in the midst of doing it now. So we don't have a receipt for that necessarily outside of logoing.
I just think, based on the depth of what they've already told us, I struggle pushing this out. Small business time is of the essence, and so I have a really hard time tabling this till next meeting. Just my opinion. If we need to step into executive session and discuss it, maybe, but.
Do you have a figure?
I don't, but they've illustrated that they've already spent 30+ thousand in addition to what she just quoted us, in addition to construction costs that I think all of us have opinions on, whether that should have been the landlord that covered that or not.
I have big opinions on that. So you're looking for 25, the full amount? Motion.
Motion to approve the $25,000 grant for Thrive Coffee.
We got a second by Marcel. All in favor? Okay, unanimous.
I have the motion was made by Mr. Eubanks and the second by Mr. Terry.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you all. We look forward to pouring into the community.
We're looking forward to having you.
Thank you. Mr. President, before we move on, can we take a short transition?
Yes, take a break. Agreement between the City of Kennedale and Quick Roofing LLC, or Quick Roof QR Purchasing LLC.
Are we in a break?
Not anymore, no. Jeff just left. He just said he wanted to leave.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
So we discussed this a couple of times already, I think.
Yeah. Currently, with the quick roofing agreement, the agreement's actually with the city of Kennedale and not with the EDC. This past Tuesday during the council meeting, the council did approve the 380 agreement with quick roofing. So there's no action that's needed to be taken tonight by the EDC.
Well, thank you. Item 6, discuss and take action on a purchase of Placer AI software.
I'm gonna
Do that for us.
yield to Nathan for a few minutes, and I'll be here for support, though.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Nathan. I'm your director of, director of community development here. I got wind of Placer months back. We've had a couple demos with Placer. They are a data analytic software provider to where if the EDC would subscribe to that, it would provide the city, the EDC, but also community development with quite a bit of information regarding economics here in town, demographics, visitors coming into town. So when we make our decisions regarding planning, development, and when you make your decisions regarding business and marketing, things of that nature, this information is extremely vital. So we demoed the software. And then we invited John, I believe the city manager as well. Daryl's had some exposure to Placer as well. But with it, it has a unique capability of drawing what they refer to as geofences around the city and then pulling analytics from that. A lot of that comes from data, GPS data on your cell phones. So we can see kind of who's coming into town at special events, where they're coming from. We can also look to see where they're eating, where they're shopping directly after leaving a special event from the city. So in particular, we looked at what the visitors in Town Center was over a course of a year. And at that time, Town Center had received about 300,000 visitors over a course of and we're able to see kind of where they're coming from. So that's important to know because if we have a special event and we have a large amount of people coming from one specific part of the state or one specific part of DFW, maybe that's an area that we can target for marketing. We also looked at Hometown Christmas, what the response was, how many people showed up to those events, and then where they went directly after that. We also looked at the World of Outlaws. So the Speedway this year got the World of Outlaws. We were able to see a large spike at different parts of town, and these coincide with special events that the city had or had hosted throughout town, and we were able to see where they came from and where they went to eat directly after that, which was unique. So if we look at attracting new businesses, rather than having those particular folks go out of town to eat, maybe we can engage and speak with those particular businesses and have them come into town. We also were able to look at certain parts and neighborhoods of town to see where it is that they shop. And I think earlier tonight you heard from local businesses that a lot of folks aren't shopping in Kennedale or particularly the town center. And so this software was actually able to substantiate parts of those claims, and we like to study it further. So with Placer, it opens up a lot of capabilities, answers a lot of questions that we may have, and helps our decision-making as well, as I think as a city as a whole. So with that, John, if you've got anything to add, you're welcome to, but I can do my best to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
If I can just add to that, I brought this business to you roughly about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. One of the good things about it, last year, I want to say it was roughly around 20 grand, where John and Nathan has been able to negotiate on with a little bit better price for this go around. With that, although what Nathan is indicating, the information that the data that we can get from this was a very strong tool for our local businesses that are starting a business to look at numbers to see exactly what you described earlier. This software does that. That's where it comes from. We can do it by cell phone. We can circle or put a particular spot within the city. It will tell us all that data. Our demographics that, say, a McDonald's, if a McDonald's has certain criteria, this Placer software will generate that data for us. And it's something that we can build on to our website. So when we do have a local business wanting to come in, they have a place to go look and be able to draw this data and say, yes, this matches what our plan is. This is our business plan, and Kennedale matches to a T. Those are the things that we're trying to build upon on our EDC website so we can put the data out there and it's available for any business owner. And obviously so we can help the locals as well.
And do we have it in the software agreement that with Placer that we can share their data publicly?
I think so. Whatever the data that it's, honestly, we control the data. In the sense, let me rephrase that. So Hometown Christmas is one of them. So we're able to go in a sense, say, put a circle around the town center, and we see that data of who's coming here. And as Nathan was indicating, we can also show where they're going after they leave. All that information we should be able to share of that type of data, or from my understanding.
So we would want to look at the agreement because I'm fairly certain that with them being a data broker and this being their product that they're selling, they're not going to let us share it directly. We may be able to take a excerpt of it, or we may kind of build like an executive summary. It was like, here's what we saw after the Hometown Christmas. But I would be surprised if we can just export straight from their site, publish it to our website, because we're paying for that at that
Well, I
point.
stand corrected. Yeah, I don't mean to copy it over, but to generate our reports is, I guess, is the direction I was going.
Right, I can see that happening. And we've seen samples of the data already, because we already saw that before. And this is the company that's using cell phone data to do all the tracking, is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Is the software able to, I guess, do like a comparison? Like compare present day Kennedale to what updates would be needed to draw more?
Absolutely. So you can actually compare, you can go back to a specific date in 2017 and compare how year over year, how certain parts of town have performed. We can also compare that to other markets in the state, in DFW, really anywhere in the world where that data could be available. For example, if there was a sister city that we had, how do we compare to the city of Saginaw? How do we compare to other types of cities? And we can look at what they're performing and how we perform. And so actually a lot of the subscribers of the software are economic development other cities. The one that comes to mind right offhand is the city of Grand Prairie, for example. They subscribe to this. A lot of cities subscribe to this. Private entities, private companies, retailers subscribe to this particular platform. They're one of the largest ones that they have that are out there to make those to better decision making in town. But year over year, you can compare, see how our speedway compares to other speedways in. Is it Ennis, Ferris, TMS? You know, what is it that they're doing over there that maybe we can do here to attract more business? Hope that answered your question.
Is it able to suggest, like, I know there's quite a few businesses on Kennedale Parkway that probably need to be updated exteriorly. Does it suggest those types of things?
Well, it's going to indicate on as far as visitation goes. There are hundreds of reports that we can actually run. Retail leakage is the one that comes to mind, right? That we can look to see where folks in town spend their money, and then that's a good indication of, are they shopping on the parkway at that particular, establishment, or are they going up to 87 or down to 87 into Mansfield to get that type of service? So it has that type of capability.
So I don't think it's gonna be able to, tell us.
Well, just to expand a little bit, there's no feature in the software that would say, okay, if we put like Little Caesars on the Parkway, how much traffic is that going to get? There's no way to put variables in that. But one thing, we talked about geofencing and leakage. We highlighted a neighborhood during the demo and went on there and said, okay, where are the top 10 places that these people eat? It shows where they go in a time period for, I think we did a month. And on this particular example, they were going to 2 restaurants we have in here, Chicken Express and Subway, but they weren't going to this Chicken Express and Subway. So that we can see leakage and we can see indicators like that, but there's not like a what if feature on the software. So that would be analysis that we would have to do either internally as city staff or through the board.
John, real quick, did we pay 20,000, I think you alluded to, I guess, maybe, or what was the cost previously or did we only run a demo in the 20?
That was last year.
Since I've been here, we haven't brought the software.
Okay, so do we know what the estimated cost would be? And then secondarily, is this a 1-year, 3-year contract? What does that look like?
Well, the price we received was like an annual license or annual access, and we're looking anywhere between 10 and said 15 and then made a lever comment, and we're going back and forth on what that price would actually be. Part of the reduction on that would be timing of purchase. The faster we could purchase it, the lower we can look at getting that price, or the closer we could get it down to 10. But the range we've been given is between 10 and 15,000 for 1 year.
Have they been able to illustrate, I think you mentioned Saginaw, have they been able to illustrate any type of increase in revenue for said city based on the software and, retail leakage? Have they been able to say, okay, due to the information provided, the city has been able to increase revenues by X? Have they been able to produce anything like that? I mean, I love the data. I just want to make sure we can actually use it to increase revenue for the city.
I haven't seen or requested a report that's specific to that. What we wanted to look at was visitors versus residents. I'm sure that we could extrapolate some data like that would indicate that, and we could look at the budgeted or published reports from the EDC there in other cities. But with this particular software, that hasn't been part of at least my conversations with them. I wanted to see kind of what it performed, how it could perform, and so we can make better decisions.
So
Indirectly, we did get that when we looked and saw, okay, these folks are going to Chicken Express, but it's not this one.
Right.
These folks are going to Subway, but it's not this one. And these were Kennedale residents, and I'm not going to call out the neighborhood, but the idea being, indirectly, we can look and say, here's leakage. They're going to a restaurant we have in town, but it's not the one in town. So I don't know, I haven't seen like a direct report, but we could see.
yeah, and so I agree with you. And so then to your point, 100% agree, and I hope that wasn't my neighborhood. So anyways, I guess my question is, how do we combat that? So great, we have the data, they're going to the wrong Subway. Is this simply just getting data so that then we have additional costs because now we're going to go after said neighborhood and say, hey, you need to come to our Subway? Are we going to go to Subway, the restaurants here in the city, and say, we have data for you, we see people going elsewhere and we're expecting them to pay us for it? Is it just a fringe benefit of being in the city? What is the thought process there? Because we can see it, but then how do we execute on that? And then in turn, who's going to pay for that? And that might not be something we have today. I was just thinking.
No, that is exactly what we're looking at. That's what we're wanting. Without the data, it's hard for us to go out and market who we are. For instance, and I'll go back to the hometown Christmas. That is a big number. That's a number that entices people to come to the town center, to conduct business. When you're indicating someone does not come into our Subway, maybe they don't know that. Maybe we come in with an initiative to market our Subway as the EDC. or our Chicken Express, whatever that is. One of them is also like, for now, the Kennedale Speedway Park. That's one of the things we have shown an initiative to advertise, put out there to say, hey, we have a dirt track. So we've also, as we go, as we're advertising, as we're marketing what's inside Kennedale, this data will tell us it's working or it's not. Maybe it's telling us that we need to go do a different direction, or maybe Subway's not all that great. Maybe we need to go and have a Papa John's or something else. That data will tell us. So if, for example, if Forest Hill had a Jimmy John's, and Jimmy John's is averaging 20,000 a day, Subway's only wanting 10,000 a day, maybe we need to go get a Jimmy John's to come in. But without that data, we're not going to be able to do that. We can market what fits us. And that's the key to it for me, is if I have all the demographic numbers, our daytime population is huge. You have the morning population, your lunch population, and your evening population. Any of your fast food restaurants, more particularly your sit-down restaurants, they want to know that number. This gives us that data. So if we want a Mexican restaurant here in Town Center to help us with all of our events, we can tell them, hey, we have an event each month, and that event brings in 5,000 people. This event, our hometown Christmas, brings in 10,000. Those are attractive numbers. They know their own data, what they're going to make out of it. So without any of that data, I can't share it. And then what this software does is allows me to share that information.
Will that data then turn revenue up 5, 6, 8%, or what? Are we hoping? Are we hoping?
Well, it's not a hope. It's data. Just same way if I tell you you like Subway and you say, oh, I do like Subway, the odds are you're going to go to Subway. So it's the same thing with this data. If you're data driven and your business is based off of that, that's the information you want, you're going to go seek it. And if I can put it on a website and I don't have to constantly go and market this, I can say, hey, let's go to the website. I can do marketing. I can go to, for example, this past week, I was at the Texas City Managers Association. Placer was there. One of the things they're doing is just that. If you're not there, you can't sell something that somebody doesn't know about. So this is one of the tools that allows us to be able to do that. And it works.
And we're talking about, oh, sorry.
Good.
We're just talking about like revenue in Mexican restaurants, so we could actually circle all of Kennedale and look at where everybody's going to eat that's outside of Kennedale. Like we hear barbecue, we hear Mexican, Tex-Mex, all these other kinds of restaurants. Well, this data would allow us to go in and see, okay, we're having leakage because people are going to Mansfield for X, whatever that is, or going to Forest Hill or Fort Worth. That's when we could go in and talk to that business. Hey, you're getting whatever, 5,000 visits from Kennedale residents a month. What would that look like, or what would it take to get you to move in here and have us collect that sales tax instead of it going down the road?
So to Mr. Eubanks' kind of observation or question before, how do you action the data, right? So great, you have the data now, how do you make it actionable? I think one thing, I think we have to be really careful about our expectations of what software can do. It's just information and that's it. One example I can see, we're kind of going back to the Subway. If we can show the Subway here, hey, after you close, well, then Kendall residents, in large numbers are leaving and going to a nearby Subway. Stay open an hour later. That's something that's a little bit more manageable for everyone to do in the beginning. But I think we have to pull the trigger and just start getting the data and then figure out what decisions to make. I would rather do that than blindly start just running some ad campaigns. It's going to cost more money and target the wrong business, wrong customers, wrong time, et cetera. So
Totally agree.
Yeah, I fully support it. I think having the data, any smart developer, any business owner is going to want the data, period. So, yeah.
I make a motion to purchase the Placer AI software.
I'll second.
All in favor? right, unanimous.
Our next meeting with them is on the 9th, so we'll be sure to spread the news at that time. Thank you.
All right. Item 7, discuss and take action of the YMCA lease agreement for 205 West Kennedale Parkway.
If we can also table that as well, the
Okay.
contract did not come through.
Table item 7. Item 8, update and discussion regarding the upcoming 2024-25 fiscal year EDC budget.
One of the things I wanted to bring up as well, as we're looking through the budget, we've had a couple of discussions referenced with grants, is that something that we want to increase not only the overall number from 150 to maybe 200,000, or plus, do we may want to increase from 25,000 to 30 or 35,000? Basically just inflation of the cost as a whole for anything. Just food for thought for that of, obviously we had 3 tonight that's presented, and as we move forward, I think it'll be a good idea to maybe have the funding there available for it. Also, I would like to have the initiative to help. One of the things that we're seeing in our comprehension plan is the cleanup of Kennedale Parkway. And I know this has been one of the initiatives in the past. I would like to have money that's dedicated to strictly straight to improvements on facades, maybe some screenings of some sort, painting, something directly improve the parkway's appearance, the image that the city has. And I would like to have just a certain revenue just generated for that, not necessarily for grant opportunities, just for the improvement of the facade of the city.
And that would be a siloed account specifically held for that purpose? And then I guess my second question would be, we go to XYZ business on the Parkway. Let's hypothetically say you approach them and say, we want to paint your building. Is that how that would work?
We can, absolutely.
Or put up a fence or whatever that looks like?
Yeah, we can make our recommendations. Absolutely.
So you want to put in do you have a number you want to put off for that?
Well, if it's something that, obviously, it's something I truly desire to improve the quality of life of the parkway itself and just change the image of the city as a whole. I would like to start off around the 75 to 100,000 mark. There's several things that it's not going to cost that much. There's several things that we can come in and put a screening as in putting say a 6-foot privacy fence that could help some of their parking issues. There's several on the parkway that come to mind right off the bat that we can probably put a 6-foot privacy fence that may be 100 feet long that could change the total appearance of that part of the parkway, which would improve it. And I'll give you another example. The strip center where we have our donut store, they just went in and repainted their building and made it, the appearance is a lot better. Those are the things I want to make sure that we're able to help the business owners, one, improve their quality of their image, and second, the city and our comprehension plan, the committee that was on there, that was one of their main goals was to clean up the parkway. And I think this is one way, one initiative we can do that.
So I guess the only concern I have there is reference the donut shop building. I'm assuming the landlord came out of pocket for that. I'm assuming. And to my example a minute ago, you go down to XYZ business, you say, hey, we want to paint your building. Well, now we've essentially increased the value of his business. maybe the donut shop landlord would take offense to that, or another landlord in, on the parkway that has spent money to make their building presentable. So I think we need to be careful about increasing the value of said property for any business. I don't disagree. A fence would work great. I'm just really hesitant to give free money to someone that's going to increase the value of their property when other landlords are not getting it and making their property look better. Does that make sense?
Yes, however, I still look at it, the opportunity is there for anyone. It's not just for one person. For example, this grant we just presented is 25,000. This is the first time that we've actually granted the money for that. Everybody that has a business is wide open for that. We just had the first opportunity to actually give it. So the opportunity has been there for years. It's not even the last 2 years, it's the last decade. And I'll go back to even the communication side of it. If they need help, we're here. We build our website to indicate that. We can go out and promote it. We can say, hey, this is what we can do to help improve your property. Ultimately, if it gives it more value, obviously it gives it more value to the city as well, through property valuations, things of that nature. But also it helps the business itself. It gives it a better appearance, approachability. If you just think of how you go about choosing what convenience store you go to, that could be a big changer. Or is it approachable? Do you feel safe? I mean, there's a lot of things that I feel that we can come in and actually help a business improve their quality of life. But it's open for everybody. And just say we do run out of money the first year, well, we'll see October the 1st of 2025.
And to be clear, I love the grant process. I'm excited to have them. I'm glad that we can support them. And maybe, to your point, there might need to be additional funds in the future to ensure that their business, for instance, since they're still here, that they thrive. When we're approaching a business to do something for them and they're not approaching us, that's where I think there might be for me, maybe a gray area that I want to be careful with when we're going out and selectively saying, we're going to give you money even though they didn't come to us for it.
Well, I won't demand it on them. I will make recommendations, and got prime example, if I would have never said anything here, or some of the council members would have never said, I don't think they ever would have approached us to be able to get that funding. I do take your point. That is a very valid point. I'm not saying that by any means. And hopefully I don't offend anyone in that regard. And that would not be the intent. The intent was say we have funding to be able to help improve quality of life, improve facades on businesses. We did it to ourselves right here in the town center. And we're doing it again. That's part of it. It's helping the quality of life of Thrive, quality of life for the business itself within our organization, because it is the Kennedale Town Center. And it comes back to our reputation. What do we want to look like? What do we want to be? And personally, I think if we can go and slap on some paint, sometimes it helps. But yeah, I do take your point very seriously, and hopefully I would not hurt their feelings.
And I think when you started the number, the first number I got was 100,000 because of everything and we don't have to spend it. It just needs to be a budgeted item. Mm-hmm. Whether you use it or not, we can budget 100,000 for that aside the grants. We just have to put it in next year's budget. Now, as far as increasing the overall grant budget, this is the first, if I'm not mistaken, the first we've actually spent this year, and our fiscal year doesn't have too many more months.
That's correct.
So is there going to be a need to increase the amount yet? Have you seen the need for it?
I have not. But as you can tell, we had 3 tonight. I anticipate we have more businesses that's wanting to come to Kennedale. There may be a small business that needs that help, and I'd like to have the funding there available
So
for
we're
them.
at 150 right now?
Correct.
So what is a better number that you might foresee in the future? 250?
Well, more importantly, you know, right now we have 6 $25,000 grant.
Right.
The idea is maybe we bump it up to 30 or 35. We can keep the 6, just increase the
Just
25,000
increase the
mark.
amount, the maximum amount.
Correct. And I think we saw that tonight as well, is the demand on, you know, making improvements is, went up inflation, obviously. That was the intent of it, is just to increase the 25 to 30 or 35, then have a budget line item for just facade improvements.
I guess I have a question for John real quick. So on here, it looks as if we were able to increase the EDC balance by, let's just call it $190,000 year over year. Would you agree with that?
We're projecting to, yes.
Okay. Do you, I know you probably, it's tough, but did 22 also increase? Because we had, these ideas I agree with, but I want to ensure that if we only have $190,000 surplus, and we add another $100,000 sinking fund for the Parkway beautification project, let's call it that, we're running pretty tight, assuming we get all 6 at 150. Was 22 to 23 also an increase? Do you happen to know off the top of your head?
I have 2 comments on that. One, I do not know off the
Okay.
top of my head. Apologize. The other comment is it was on the agenda, and we mentioned this, the quick roofing, the 380 agreement. Now, the incentive isn't on the portion that comes to the EDC. So based on the numbers they provided to us, the EDC would get an additional $250,000 based on this arrangement. So that itself, I mean, Mr. Holes mentioned 100,000 for facade, then we've 150,000 for grants. I mean, that's the 250 right there. So I believe the fund is definitely strong enough to sustain what we're talking about right now.
I'll take his advice if he looks at the numbers. If we can sustain it, I'll support it.
The other side of that is our fund balance. If you look at the very bottom, we're looking to have $2 million in there right now. So we have plenty of funding to help with facade improvements.
I would make a note, maybe other than a fence, and maybe fence is a better option, but I would rather see some trees, some type of brush that we could create a barrier, if you will. I think that would really, maybe I'm asking too much, but
Tried that and it didn't go over too well.
did it not? Okay.
That's
Yeah, the
what people were
landscaping's a
about.
great idea, just not on the Parkway.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's gotta be
The road-
back.
Not on the roads where you can't see to pull up
Exactly.
your traffic.
Director Horton, if I could ask a quick question regarding the budget. Down at the bottom, I'm just curious, admin charge, general fund is almost half a month, 447. Can you just quickly explain what that is? What's an admin charge?
So the general fund, meaning city staff, there's a portion of those expenditures that the EDC covers, like the city manager's office, for example, the finance department, my time, the EDC's portion of the accounting system, the audit. If you remember on council, the EDC had its own separate audit. We don't charge the EDC directly. That rolls all up to the city. So there are a handful of city departments that the EDC pays for those services. That's what the admin transfer is. If you look in the budget book, there is a sheet near the front that is I think it's cost analysis, but it has this broken down. I can't remember every department's percentage, but Department of Finance is 15%.
That's a perfect answer, thanks.
Yes, sir.
I just saw that admin charge, so I was curious.
I'm just trying to be thorough because I messed up on the 22 number, so I'm balancing myself right now.
As far as the fences go, I would almost say that should almost be a zoning thing, or not a zoning thing, but a code compliance. If you have something that's in your business that's so bad that we want to go pay to put a fence up to hide it from everybody. Maybe we just need to take that back to the council and say, we need to change the zoning ordinance, say, hey, if you're doing the X, Y, and Z business, it should not be visible from the road.
That's correct.
I thought.
You're absolutely correct. And that will be done as well.
Unfortunately, the zoning expert had to leave, but I think there is an overlay on 287 that has different standards or elevated standards, but I can't remember any specifics offhand.
You
Just
don't
saying
want to
it.
remember it because it's not being applied right now.
Yeah, you'll be running a fence all the way down Kendall Parkway, I mean, from one end to the next. All right, are we making what are we doing on this? Sorry. Okay.
We have a budget workshop coming up on July. So the idea on this is getting a little bit of guidance for what I will present to council on behalf of the EDC. So there were some numbers put in this 25 budget based on conversation with Mr. Hull and also notes taken from previous meetings. And this column was populated based on all that information. If there's any additional feedback other than what we've received tonight, or if there's questions on numbers or adjustments, I'm interested in any feedback that'll help me on my presentation to council on the 8th.
I think the only thing I can sit there and think of is sponsorship, since we did sponsor a community theater, that's something that maybe we need to have a line item for. And, it's something we probably, maybe 5 at $1,000 each or something like that. I don't know, but I mean.
Ideally, for my purposes, I just need a number, and at least on the 8th, all of this is probably going to show up in the functional grant account because we're going through the software integration, we're about to start it, so I'm hesitant to create a bunch of new accounts, but we will have schedules that reflect this was for a facade improvement, for example, this amount was for grants, and this amount was for sponsorship. So for my purposes, if I could just get a total number, so if you're saying 5 at 1,000 each, I'm a little good at math, I can get us there, but if we just want to say X number total, then we can quabble over how many and what amount when those opportunities are presented to us.
So there's like 15,000 would be the top end ceiling and.
You're the finance guy. Make a decision.
Oh, you want me to make your whole budget?
I do have a.
You're only paying for 15% of my abilities, so. Okay, so we're saying 15,000, that would be our high end on, okay.
Sure.
We'll start with that and then see what council tells us on the.
For the special events Christmas event, last year we spent 97,000. This year we're only budgeted for 60, but then 25, we're looking at 100,000. We're going to run 40,000 short this year? Why are we going from 100 to 60 back to 100 again?
It's what it is basically October's falling between the two before the event. So I'll have an expense coming. Then in October, we're pretty much doing it for the next budget. So does that make sense? That's the reason why there's somewhat of a split. With it being.
You're budgeting half of it now and you'll budget the next half in 20, or partially 25.
Yeah.
There's also some capital expenses that are within that 100,000 right now that would be an improvement that would be ongoing throughout the years, being lighting in the town center plaza, additional lighting.
Yeah, so some of the funding that you're seeing that's currently there, we'll be spending that, plus a little bit more based off of our 25th anniversary. But there'll still be funding there for next year prior to the budget as well.
Okay.
And we've also already started soliciting donations, so we're hoping to offset some of those expenses with community donations as well.
And then we've got the monuments or city entrances and the fountain. So that's going to be phase 1 and phase 2 of the fountain?
That's correct. Yeah.
Town Center Park remodel?
Correct. And also, I'm glad you brought that up. Another thing that's on the current budget is for us to have our entry signs, some type of welcome to Kennedale. One of the things that was budgeted for this year, I have not been able to do because pretty much every entry point to the city is under some type of construction. So I haven't been able to get any of that started by any means, and I don't anticipate being able to get them before October as well. So you'll see that number continue to roll over, just for FYI as we move forward. So it's not that we haven't been able to complete it, we just haven't been able to do anything where the current construction's at. They're not gonna let me put anything in there.
Just gotta ask, other equipment, almost over $200,000? 219. Does the EDC need equipment?
That consisted of mowers. There was some mowers purchased for the park.
So, that's a lot of mowers.
That was the budget. That was not projected. You see projected is at 45,000.
Okay. But the year's not over. Okay. So the EDC pays for its own mowers that I'm guessing get used by the rest of the city?
The park does need maintenance, and the EDC covers the cost of the maintenance, or the equipment to maintain our park. But yes, there are occasions where that equipment may be seen at Sonora Park or Rogers Farm.
Thank you.
Any more discussions on our budget, upcoming budget? Well, thank you. Darrell, do we need an executive session, sir? No other business that can take care of? Have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Thank you all for showing up.